Okay, let's go ahead and start with our first video. This one is on Democritus. Before I begin, I just want to remind you that you should have already watched the video yesterday about the history of the atomic theory. This is just a really quick overview. If you were absent yesterday and you have not watched this video, please stop. Make sure that you go back and just watch it real quick. And then come on back and watch this one. Okay, you should have your note page or your notebook open to page 3 and 4. And when I give your notes, I'm going to have one slide. And on the slide, I'm going to have different images, pictures. I might have a link to a video I'm going to show you. When we get to Rutherford, I'm going to show you a computer simulation. And so what you're going to do is just listen, watch, please. And then when I write things on my note square there, whatever, then you do the same thing. Whatever I put in my notes, you put in your notes. Okay? So let's begin with Democritus. All right, so Democritus was a Greek philosopher. He lived about 2,000 years ago, around 460 to 370 BC. And he had really big ideas. He had the idea that everything in the universe is made of tiny, unbreakable pieces called atomos. So he said, if I take something and I separate it in half, and then I separate that in half, and that in half, and over and over and over and over again, he thought eventually you would get to one piece that was so small it could not be divided again. And so that's kind of, where he got this idea of this one last piece. Let's call that atomos. So you're going to go ahead and write that in your yellow box. Atomos means uncuttable particles. Basically what that means is it's something that can't be divided anymore. Okay, so Democritus believed these atoms were the basic building blocks of everything around us. He thought that they were so small, you couldn't see them, can't divide them into smaller parts. So then he also had some cool ideas about why things feel or act differently. Later on, we're going to talk about physical and chemical properties or physical and chemical characteristics. They're just like traits of everything that you see around us. So he thought that the shape, size, and arrangement of the atoms made everything unique. So go ahead and write down, he thought the object's characteristics gave atoms their shape and size. And I see that my iron tool popped up. I didn't want that to pop up yet, so ignore that. Go ahead and just write everything down in your yellow. And that's all I've got for you to write down in notes. So I lost my place. Let me find it. Okay. So for example, he thought that iron atoms might be small, hard, and rough with jagged edges, which is why iron is so strong. So this image that I have up here of an iron tool, this is an actual Greek tool. It's a chisel, and it's made out of iron. And this was actually forged during the time that Democritus would have been alive, during the Iron Age. And so Democritus, he would have seen things like this. They used iron in a lot. At this point in time, they were melting iron and pouring it into molds. They were adding metals together to make, we call them, the word has just escaped me, alloys. And basically the point of that is it makes the tools, or it makes that whatever you made, when you make an alloy, when you mix metals together, it makes it stronger. And so he thought maybe atoms of iron would look something like what you see on the right hand side, where it's not just a perfect circular ball, but iron would have been spiky, because his thought was it's so strong it has to kind of stick to each other. So think of it sort of like, in the springtime and in the fall, if you walk through a field, you're going to get those sticky burrs that just cling to your jeans, or if you're walking your dog, it clings to the fur. So he kind of thought they were like that because they would cling to each other, and that's what made iron so strong. Well, okay, that's a great idea, but then he thought something completely different, like the atoms in something sour, like a lemon, might have sharp edges to create that tangy sensation. He thought, because it's such a sharp flavor, then the atom has to have sharp edges like that. Like it's so each atom had a different shape and a different size. I had a picture and then I took it off because I thought it would be weird. But if Democritus lived in our day and age today, and he saw somebody with pink hair, he may think the pink hair atom would be like really wavy, wispy, like because hair moves all around. So it's just completely whatever the object was, the atom would have looked like that object, because Democritus thought that the characteristic gave the atoms their shape and size, and it didn't have anything to do with the atom itself. It just sort of was reflected in the atom. So even though he couldn't prove it, Democritus's idea of tiny individual particles was actually really groundbreaking for his time. It inspired scientists much later to explore what matter is made of. And this whole thing, his atom model, laid the foundation for the atomic theory that we're learning about today. So his ideas were the start of a really long journey towards understanding what everything is made of. Let me know if you have any questions. Oh, I should probably tell you, in the white, I want you to draw the atoms that Democritus thought represented his atomic model theory. In other words, draw a lemon, label it lemon, make that little yellow jaggedy thing. Draw an iron tool, label it iron tool, and then make those little jagged atoms next to it. All right, I'm going to shut the video off. If you need to keep it, pause it, and now move on to the next video when you're done, and that is for John Dalton.